Ah, that felt like walking into the kitchen and smelling something good to eat. Do you realize that 24 hours from now, we're going to be watching Eagles football again? Two things that sound like they're in opposition of each other can both be accurate at the same time. It seems like it's been forever since we watched the Eagles play in the Super Bowl. And at the same time, it seemed like it wasn't that long ago. But we made it, and it's time to roll. We have been through the NFL scouting combine, the Senior Bowl. We have been through pro days, top 30 visits, OTAs, rookie mini camps. They canceled the mandatory mini camp and now training camp. And after 10 practices, you see them posting on social media right now. Oh, and how about the Philadelphia Eagles social media team? Like, I don't think anybody does it better than they do. But the guys are en route. We'll be seeing pictures and photos of them touching down in Baltimore, Maryland, and 7 p.m. on tomorrow night at M&T Bank Stadium. The Philadelphia Eagles meet the Baltimore Ravens for the first of 3 preseason games. It's not boring to me. I know some of you guys hate this, but I'm not going to miss a snap, not going to miss a play call, not going to miss anything from the opening whistle to the final buzzer and the congratulatory handshakes after the game is over with. I'm going to watch all the press conferences. Then I'm probably going to go watch highlights of the game that I already saw. Going to watch the replay when it comes on the NFL Network. I'm ready to go. I don't know about you guys. Hit me up in the comment section. Let me know how you guys are feeling. I don't think you guys are pumped enough. Philadelphia Eagles football is back, man. You know how long I've been waiting to say that? And do you know how long I've been waiting to sit here and say, it's time for Derek Barnett to leave us, man? We were talking right before we went live, and as Jake Beckman said, I hate to steal your thunder from you, Jake, but we just want this guy to get as much film on tape as he can so we can get this guy traded and out of here. I'm done. Can you imagine what would have happened had Derek Barnett attacked Landon Dickerson and Landon Dickerson got hurt? That's what we need. The first round bust taking out the Pro Bowl left guard. That's what we need to start the season. Derek Barnett, I've done everything I can to defend you. Everybody that knows me, everybody that reads Inside the Eagles every single day, God bless every single one of you. Everybody that reads Inside the Eagles every day knows that I have defended Derek Barnett. But there are certain things that I want to say retire from my vocabulary and from my speech forever. Stop saying Derek Barnett broke Reggie White's sack record at Tennessee. We know that's true. But the only time we need to say that is if it's followed by this statement. Derek Barnett also played 17 more games in Tennessee than Reggie White did. You keep leaving that part out. Forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, ever, I want us to retire from our speech and our vocabulary the next statement. Stop saying, well, Brandon Graham started off slow, didn't he? Derek Barnett isn't half the player that Brandon Graham is. Brandon Graham, top 15 draft choice. The Philadelphia Eagles actually traded up to get him. We know the story. Slow start. Better at the back half of his career than he was at the front. But Brandon Graham, the one thing that we couldn't do with Brandon Graham in the first few seasons of his career was open up his chest and look at that thing ticking. That heart. He's got plenty of that. And I have yet to see that from Derek Barnett. Yes. If we're going to compare the both of them, we can talk about one of the most memorable plays in the history of sports. The greatest strip sack in the history of professional football. Brandon Graham knocks the ball loose from Tom Brady. My favorite memory of Tom Brady with him sitting on the turf looking back in the opposite direction. Brandon Graham knocked the ball loose. Derek Barnett recovered the fumble. We all know that. But that was a long time ago. I'll even give him credit for something else. 2 weeks before that in the NFC Championship game, we forget the game was still in doubt when this happened. The Minnesota Vikings are driving. Derek Barnett with a strip sack. Chris Long recovers it. Great moment in Derek Barnett's career. I also remember in 2018, I was actually there for this one. The Colts are visiting Lincoln Financial Field. Frank Reich is now the Colts coach. And Derek Barnett has the game-ending sack on Andrew Luck. But now we're so far from that guy. It's hard to believe that of the 2017 Eagles draft class, Derek Barnett is the only guy left. Sidney Jones is gone. Some guys aren't even in the league anymore. Donnell Pumphrey, who knows what he's doing these days. Shelton Gibson is gone. Um, who else was in that draft class? Rasul Douglas, he's gone. The only guy from the 2017 Eagles draft class remaining on this team was Derek Barnett, who ironically was taken in the first round of an NFL draft that was hosted in Philadelphia. But as we prepare for the preseason, I'm praying for things like, let's hope he gets traded. I've been saying this for a few years now, not publicly, because publicly I've tried to support him, but I'm at the point I can't do it anymore. Derek Barnett wears on my last nerve. And had he attacked Landon Dickerson and somehow done something, because we know Landon Dickerson has a tendency to get hurt. Knock on wood, he hasn't done it recently, but Landon Dickerson has stayed healthy. And had he attacked Landon Dickerson and something, God forbid, had Landon Dickerson or broken eye socket, anything, this would be a totally different conversation. I'm over it. Wipe the sweat from my brow, like Josh Sweat, bringing on my homeboys, my brothers from other mothers, Jake Beckman, Brandon Pockris. Inside the Eagles Live is in effect, and I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. How was your week?
It's going well. It's going well. You forgot the hashtag, it's always him.
Yeah.
It's always
and
him.
It is. And it is. What's going on, B?
Yeah, you know what? Nothing much. It's been a long couple of days. Drove down to South Carolina, drove back. It's from Jersey. It's a bit of a hike, but even if I'm tired, that doesn't stop this show. We keep on pushing through.
He's a grinder, is what he is. Nobody can stop him. Not driving, not nothing.
I got to look at Carolina a little bit on Monday, but how was Aaron Rodgers looking?
He looks crisp, and it's crazy because I've followed the Jets for a very long time, and seeing the comparison of Rodgers to the other quarterbacks, it's like, oh wow, this is what real quarterback play looks like.
Well, we're glad you made it down and back safely, man, and safe travels to one of our new contributors. Tressany was supposed to make her debut tonight. She is en route to Atlanta, Georgia, to see Beyonce after paying a tuition for tickets.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I don't know how y'all do it. Beyonce rapped in Charlotte, North Carolina last night. I think she's in Atlanta tomorrow, but I'll be missing that because you guys know what I'll be doing. You guys ready for some Eagles football?
Yeah, I do have one side question. Are we getting a Taylor Swift tour and a Beyonce tour at the same time?
I think we are, yeah.
Whoa. I didn't know the world was ready for that.
It probably isn't. To be honest,
they say music is dead, you idiots.
For quite some time on those credit card bills when they come back around.
It's going to be pretty penny.
But opinions. I just talked a little bit about Derek Barnett and everything. I can't defend the guy anymore, guys. What are you thinking?
His ceiling is him. You mentioned him getting the fumble in the Super Bowl. You did not mention that he got blocked into that fumble. So that's his ceiling is getting blocked into a fumble recovery. So that's get him out of here, man. Like you said, like it's just you put as much of his tape out there. Hopefully him trying to fight Landon Dickerson, which is crazy to try to fight a guy whose number is 69. Like that's just a fun guy. You don't try to fight that guy. Like right. That's a dumb thing to do. But just hopefully that story didn't pick up a whole lot of steam nationally, and hopefully he just get him 6 sacks tomorrow. 6 sacks for Derek Barnett and ship him out of here, man. No.
I mean, with Barnett, like we've talked about it before, unless you just like him as a depth option, there's not really a need for him on the roster. You already have a very deep defensive line. I'm pretty sure if you wanted one of the few undrafted guys that you signed from this past draft or even the last past draft, and you tell him, hey, just fill the Derek Barnett role, you're probably not losing much. And especially if that guy that isn't producing, that hasn't hit on his draft capital, is now causing issues and putting other players in harm's way, not really a place for him on the roster, in my opinion.
I agree. I'll tell you who I do want on the roster, and I'm glad they're here. 2 first-round draft picks this year, Jalen Carter, my, and Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith probably being the anti-Derek Barnett with heart among heart, just a great guy to cheer for, just a great guy in general. I have often said that he is he's the defensive version of Jalen Hurts. Work ethic is amazing, And recently he said this.
It don't matter preseason practice. I'm giving it my all just because I remember that feeling in my heart that I got when I couldn't play another snap. Like most people don't, they think it's a game, but man, if you really live this shit day in and day out, and you walk off that field and knowing, man, I don't know if that's gonna be my last snap, well, you'll go harder than you ever been.
What have you noticed about Jalen?
I respect the emotion. I respect the grind. Don't go too hard because we do not need you getting hurt against the Ravens.
What did he say? He said, you're going to have to kill me to stop me? It's like, well, buddy, it's preseason 1, dude.
Only
Like,
give you 20 snaps and bench you after a few start getting too out of control.
it was like when that Hard Knocks, the Cowboys Hard Knocks, when they were trying to, when Micah Parsons was trying to get back on the field. It's like, buddy, that's a dumb idea, my friend. That is, that's a very dumb thing.
I mean, at the same time, though, right? It's pretty sick that this kid that comes in out of Georgia that could have been entitled, could have been like, oh, this is my spot, I deserve this spot, is coming in and setting that type of tone for the defense. Because you really think about it, and you mentioned how you see Nolan Smith as the anti-Derek Barnett, the Jalen Hurts of the defense. Well, there's your evidence right there. Just those type of comments where guys are going to rally around that type of attitude. And even if maybe the Eagles defense isn't like a historically good defense this year, they're still going to be great if they have that type of edge and mentality, because it's very hard to be thrown off your game when everyone's locked in like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Corey Robinson, what's up, big dog? I'm excited to see the rookies. Ringo is my guy I'm going to be watching, and Nolan Smith and Sidney Brown. We totally agree with you. Ringo is starting to look good, by the way. Like, I mean, it's hard to be a rookie, show up at your first training camp. Oh, yeah, go guard A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith now. But seems to be turning the corner, seems to be putting a lot of good stuff out there. And most recently he started running with the second team defense. So they got him starting opposite of Josh Jobe and everything. Looking like, you know, if we're sitting here talking about roster spots and everything that might be available, I know we're going to talk about depth charts in a minute, but it's looking like Ringo and Josh Jobe are going to be the backups on the outside just in case something happens to Darius Slay. And I'm still going with Zach McPherson as that backup slot guy.
Oh, yeah.
I think Last Scott's probably out of that role. I don't have Greedy Williams making his team. He needs a good training camp, which in a good preseason. What are you guys thinking about him?
I think that he's going to have to show up against his old team when they do those joint practices against the Browns in order for him to really show and really shine. But no Greedy for me.
I think with Greedy Williams, like coming in the training camp, he was one of the guys where I'm like, I'm excited to see what he can do, because if he stands out, he's the guy or one of the guys where I thought he could have been in that backup role. But you have, very talented Josh Jobe. You have Keely Ringo, who could have been a high first-round pick if some things go differently for him in this past season, and some of the testing numbers are a little bit different. But we've seen him at Georgia. He is a high-level corner when everything's clicking. And the fact that he's going to have that time to develop, and Josh Jobe is standing out to the point where you have James Bradbury complimenting him. What's the need for Greedy Williams in the sense of, are you keeping that yet another corner for depth, or do you want to shift that priority to another spot on the roster? And that's when you start getting into the questions about the roster cut downs and do we value corner over position X or position Y?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, and Keely Ringo, also 21 years old. Crazy. A lot of development there. I definitely see him sticking around over Greedy Williams. Yeah, that's an easy one.
Having some technical difficulties. Inside Eagles is not about to begin. We've already begun. And thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us on tonight. 16 minutes in, we're talking about some preseason action. Less than 24 hours from now, if you missed the announcement, the Eagles will be playing in Baltimore. 23-game winning streak on the line. Baltimore, any possibility of preseason winning streak? Any possibility we have any care or any inclination that we might want to try to go down there in this thing, or do we not care?
The one thing that the Eagles have going for them, so they said Lamar's not playing. So that means the Ravens quarterback room is Lamar, Tyler Huntley. Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley, in case you forgot, because he is elite apparently. And then our old friend Josh Johnson, whose last snap he got knocked out of the NFC Championship game, and his first snap of 2023 is going to be against the Eagles. So it sucks to be him. And then an Anthony Brown. So if the Eagles do have a very legitimate chance of being able to end that streak. That being said, Harbaugh has a great head on his shoulders for caring about things that don't matter.
I agree. I'm excited, man. I think it's going to be a great preseason. I think we're going to see a lot of good stuff. Probably the usual vanilla play calling and vanilla plays that we've gotten used to and things of that nature. But I'm expecting to see a lot. I'm expecting some guys to go out there and really, excuse my language here for those that are just tuning in, go balls to the wall. Pause. I know it's 3 guys on there. I want to say here now. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of good stuff. Nolan Smith, with his statements and things of that nature, Nolan Smith is going to give it everything that he's got. I'm expecting to see the same thing from Jalen Carter, who, isn't that far gone from some legal issues. Glad that we're past him. And Josh Seals, somebody else whose legal issues have been it and things of that nature. So I think we're going to see some good tape from him. And just a lot of guys trying to prove a point. We know who's going to make this team for the most part. We pretty much know what the starting lineup looks like, but we got 2 new safeties. Probably won't see the starters. Sidney Brown, as one of the listeners said, he's excited to see. Expecting to see some great things from him. And some of the guys we've forgotten about, we mentioned Greedy Williams and also Justin Evans. What in the world happened to him? The Eagles come into camp with 5 safeties, and there are times when they've kept 5 safeties with the intention of just keeping one of those guys on special teams. But if things stay the way they are, all 5 of these guys make the team, right? Or you guys seeing something else happening?
You can go first, Brandon.
In terms of the safeties, it just, like I said with the corners earlier, it depends what guys you want to carry. And I think even when it comes to corners versus safeties, if you even want to just boil it down to that, also some positional versatility. I think the Kayvon Wallace addition, I think he could probably provide good play, versatility. Obviously, Reed Blankenship, you've seen some of the stories that have come out about him. Seems like the Eagles like him as a player. He's running with the ones. And then you have, Terrell Edmonds, who the Eagles signed in free agency, and Sidney Brown, who they drafted. You also mentioned Justin Evans. I think once you start getting to that are you keeping the best player? Are you keeping the guy with your draft capital because you just invested into him? Are you keeping the guys that can give you the most versatility, where maybe you do carry more safeties because you're moving an Edmonds around where he might play a slot corner or fill in for corner in an emergency situation, and you don't carry a Greedy Williams instead. It all depends on how the Eagles want to allocate those resources to safety.
Yeah. I think that it'll just be the 5 safeties that make the roster. I think that's the very important thing, is that positional versatility that you mentioned. You get, I think, especially seeing, I don't want to say how easy, because I don't know how easy it was for him, but to see Zach McPherson go to being the backup nickel. He's got that kind of versatility. I think that it's not the hardest. I don't say not the hardest. I think that it is very possible that they keep more corners and then have that one of those guys be the depth for the safety. But yeah, the Justin Evans one, he's gonna have to also show out a little bit too.
Could that guy be Mekhi Gardner? Everybody's excited about Eli Ricks and things of that nature, but Mekhi Gardner, about the size of a safety, even though he's listed as cornerback, very physical. We've actually, as you mentioned, I think on Monday, Jay. Yeah, definitely. And I think you mentioned on Monday, Jake, that one of the comments you made that I like, that we've seen Sean Desai come out with a safety package, kind of like a big nickel idea or everything, and we've seen Mekhi Gardner use play the spur role in that alignment. So I'm kind of excited about that. So that's just my theory. What do you guys think about Mekhi Gardner, or are you putting Eli Ricks on the team? Either one of those guys.
That is a tough one. I mean, all I've heard about Mekhi Gardner is that he can stick it to people. Eli Ricks, I guess, has a little bit more of a pedigree, if you wanted to say that. I'm not entirely sure that's the right word for it. But that's one of those things. I just want to see him in action before I can make a judgment or something like that.
Fair enough.
Because again, they're playing. I mean, they're the deep guys on the roster. They're doing the developmental stuff. I would like to see them against like twos or something like that before I was really able to make an assessment on them. But if Sean Desai is a safety guy, I assume he's going to make the right decision when it comes down to it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think for me, it's, Ricks is the guy with the higher pedigree. Like, we've heard about him being like this top flight corner prospect coming into Bama when he was going to school. And then, things didn't exactly go according to plan, but he has, I feel like, all the tools. And if he has that development, I think he could become a nice asset for the Eagles. Gardner, he ended up at LSU. And, just looking at some of the combine stuff, 4.55 runner, 38-inch vertical jump, 10-foot 8-inch broad jump. Like, he has some of the explosiveness, which may lead you to believe that he can handle, adjusting from the corner position back to the safety position and being that kind of, I guess you would call it chess piece within that defense, where if Desai wants to, if he fits into that role, Gardner could move around and fill a bunch of different spots. And for an NFL defense, it's not encouraged that a bunch of players are positionless, but it definitely helps when you have one or two guys that can fill that void. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how that battle, if that is a battle for that last roster spot, last corner spot, how it works out.
Cool deal. All right, best stories of the week. I'm going to start off on Sunday before the team's public practice at Lincoln Financial Field. Jeffrey Lurie announced that the Philadelphia Eagles are building a new popcorn concession stand that would employ adults with autism and intellectual disabilities in partnership with Popcorn for the People. I think that's awesome. Jeffrey Lurie had a bad start in Philadelphia. Like, speaking of this Kelly Green thing, the disappearing, stuff like that, but kind of had a rough start to his tenure as Eagles owner and things of that nature, but has built the Eagles into what we love about them today, and just seems to get it with his efforts in trying to combat autism and fund research. So I'm very excited about that. But also, one of the best stories of the week, we talked about the top 10. We talked about Jalen Hurts possibly landing in the top 5, and Jalen Hurts lands at number 3 on the NFL's top 100 players of 2003. Votes consisted of what players think, and a wise man told me a long time ago that sometimes your opinion is only as valuable as the knowledge of the subject. If the guys that play Jalen Hurts all the time, every single week, say he's number 3 in the NFL, and if the guys that play with Jalen Hurts say that he's the number 3 player in the NFL, I'm going to go with what they say. Because I listened to fans one time. True story. I know some Cowboys fans, unfortunately. So they keep telling me, regardless of what I say, Jim Brown and Walter Payton are the best NFL running backs of all time. They keep telling me it's Emmitt Smith. One of them told me it was Tony Dorsett, if not Emmitt Smith. So you kind of know that the feelings and the conversation is going to be a little jaded, a little slanted, things of that nature. End up in Arlington, and I see Emmitt Smith with one of these Cowboy fans. So I'm like, gonna settle this, man. Walk up to Emmitt, we say, Emmitt, in your opinion, who is the greatest running back of all time? Emmitt Smith said Walter Payton. I love Rob Woodson. I love some of the great corners in the NFL. But when your Jerry Rices and some of the best receivers we've ever played this game say, my toughest matchup was Deion Sanders. Okay, maybe he couldn't tackle, but if they sit there and tell me the hardest time they had at work was against Deion Sanders, I'm going to roll with what they say. I know a lot of people don't want to put stock in what the NFL Top 100 says because it's a player's vote, but I'm going to rock with what the players say, because if the players come up to me and they sit here and they tell me Jalen Hurts is the best because we play against him and with him, I'm going to rock with what they say. That's my opinion. What is yours?
Because I have mixed feelings on that top 100. because like the top 10 kind of makes sense because those are the top 10 guys that are in the players' minds, like on the top of their list and everything like that. But then when you get to like past 50, you're like, what the hell's going on here? Like it's some of these things they like. Miles Sanders didn't make the top 100. I don't think, did he? I don't think he did.
No.
And it's stuff like that. So some of it's butt kiss, and I don't buy into it. But again, top 3. If I get that from my guy, I'm like, hell, yeah, I'm in on this. The top 100 is perfect. If he's not in the top 3, I'm like, get now. It's stupid.
I feel like the biggest problem with the NFL top 100 is, in all honesty, I don't think it's contextualized the right way half the time. I think the way it's actually like voted upon is the top 100 players from the last season, but it's always promoted as the top 100 in the NFL. So if you add that from last season, you're probably not having as much argument and as much, discussion about why is this guy ranked so low. Like, for example, a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who won MVPs very recently, 2 of the past 3 seasons, wasn't ranked, I think, anywhere near the top 20. If you're basing that off last season, that's accurate. Rodgers did that great of a year. If you're ranking that based off the players in the NFL in general, then that's not accurate. And I feel like as long as that messaging is right and it's really one agreed upon message, then I think that's the best way to really go about it. Because if it's the top 100 players in the NFL period, then I have a lot of issues with the list that came out. There's a lot of things that could be changed, a lot of things that should be changed. But if it's top 100 players from 2023, you're asking the players from last year, the top 100 players, then those opinions should be trusted and those opinions should be validated. Because last time I checked, people in the media aren't going up against the defensive tackles. They're not catching balls from the quarterbacks. They're not running routes against the cornerback. Like, it's the players doing that. And you, at that point, if you're basing it on the game action from the past season, you have to validate those opinions.
I'm on that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe it's like the MVP trophy, man. Maybe it changes based on, how we're feeling in the current moment. The Heisman Trophy, I still don't know how they give this out. Other than the fact that it's probably the best offensive player on the best team or the best quarterback that we see that season. So, yeah. Other than that, I really know what the criteria is. I don't know.
Hashtag defense for Heisman.
Right.
That's controversial.
Yeah.
Brandon, you got to stay in your pocket, all right?
All right, guys. What are you expecting to see on Saturday? Let's talk a little bit about Ravens, Eagles, and stuff like that. So, no Jalen Hurts, no Lamar Jackson. Those guys got a bunch of money, and these teams want to protect their investment. Neither one of these teams want to go into week 1 without those guys on the field because they are making so much money. Well, Jalen's still on the final year of his rookie deal, but he'll eventually start making that money. And I think the same thing is true for Lamar, if I'm not mistaken. Does he just go right into his contract?
I'm not sure about his.
He might be going immediately into it because he's been playing on franchise tags and stuff, right? Or
yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, so one more year, right. Jalen on his initial rookie deal, and then he joins the new tax bracket. Well, he already has because he has like a nice signing bonus there. But really excited about seeing both those guys play. Just won't see them on Saturday. Ravens are going to go all out to try to win this one. I'm expecting to see some Jalen Carter, but not much. I'm expecting to see some Nolan Smith, but not much. I want to see Keely Ringo on what he does. I want to see Josh Jobe. I want to see this linebacker unit. I want to see as much of Miles Jackson, Zach Cunningham as possible. I want to see Christian Ellis and Nicholas Morrow. I'm just pumped, man. Like I said, opening whistle to the final congratulatory handshakes. I'm all in tomorrow night.
I want to see a lot of Nakobe Dean. I want to see it. I don't know. I think we should see a lot of Nakobe Dean. I don't necessarily know if I want to because I don't want him to have that much exposure. But on the other side, I do want him to have that much more exposure because he just sat out six practices with the ankle. We're talking about the guy who's calling plays for the defense.
I don't think he missed that many. He missed 2, right?
I thought it was more than 2. I could be wrong. Maybe it was 4, and maybe he Maybe it was, I don't know, but he missed a lot. He missed a lot of valuable time for a guy that really needs to develop.
No, there was a thing with the medical tent. He came out and he just had his helmet in his hand. I think the next one, if I'm not mistaken, I think was the open practice on Sunday. And I think he's been limited ever since, but I think he's back at full capacity now. Something about signing Zach Cunningham and Miles Jack got him real healthy real quick.
Right.
It usually does. It usually does.
Yeah, I want to see him. I want him to get more experience actually calling the plays in a game-esque setting. I want that. At least as far as the linebackers go. That's kind of my biggest priority is the communication going on there. Because that, as far as the linebackers go, like we've always said, we don't need good, we just need serviceable. And part of being serviceable is being able to communicate clearly to the rest of the defense. So I want him to get as much of that as possible.
I definitely want to hear better communication after the whole Howie Roseman had to take over practice for Sean Desai debacle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're past that. But two things. Howie Roseman has his fingerprints on his team, as we have always known he has. And it looked a little rough with some substitutions of practice and things of that nature. But it looks like we're past that. It looks like we're back on track now.
I think for me, we kind of mentioned it in terms of the Jalen Hurts thing. I'm interested to see how the Eagles quarterback situation looks, because it is one thing to watch the quarterback play in a practice. Quarterbacks don't get hit in practice. They have different colored jerseys. The defensive linemen stop before they get to the passer. In this preseason game, that's not the case. Let's see how a Marcus Mariota looks in this Eagles offense. Are his throws better in a live game situation?
Let's hope so.
Right, but things could change in a different scheme.
Right.
Probably not, but they could. Ian Book, I was about to say Trace McSorley.
Same thing.
Tanner McKee. Let's see how these guys actually look, and let's see where this Eagles quarterback depth actually is. Because considering how valuable Jalen Hurts is, and considering the fact that he has missed a few games in recent years, the Eagles need to know that if their superstar franchise quarterback goes down to an injury, whatever length, that their offense is still going to be able to function. Because if Mariota looks absolutely horrible tomorrow, I honestly, I'm not wasting time. I'm looking under every stone. I'm looking every direction. I'm finding another form of backup quarterback competition. I'm not wasting time. You can't.
I don't think
Make
that
$5 million, Marcus Mariota.
I think so.
Oh, wow.
I just don't think that they're going to be so quick to go away from Mariota.
No, it's not even necessarily going away, but that thought has to start being put into action. Like, hey, if Mariota keeps looking like this, we can't just let this roll into the season.
Now, to be fair, I guess since Brett Toth stopped being his center for that second team, things have started to look a lot better since they didn't have Brett Toth just dribbling the ball on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Marcus Mariota, again, the throwing accuracy, that's a totally different thing. But I think he should. I think it'll show, especially the difference between Marcus Mariota being in there and a Tanner McKee or an Ian Book. I think Mariota's gonna make the game look a lot slower. I just think that he has that kind of capability. Again, accuracy thing. Who the hell knows what's going to go on with that? The guy, it's never been exactly a strong suit. But I think I have a little bit more faith in Marcus Mariota being able to handle a preseason game. I don't think we're going to see a lot of him. I think we're going to see more Tanner McKee and Ian Book than we had ever hoped to, or want to, or probably should. But I think that's what we're going to be looking at tomorrow.
Shout out Beth DePena. I hope I'm saying that right. Kyle Brown. See you guys in the comments. You guys have been rocking with us all night, and we appreciate you for doing so. Especially on a Friday when you probably could have been doing something else with your time. So we definitely appreciate you hanging out with us. Want to give you a shout out. Guys, I put a list together. So I'm talking about 10 Eagles. Should have published about 35 minutes ago. 10 Eagles with a huge opportunity to move up on the depth chart. And I want to talk about Tanner McKee being one of those guys. Tanner McKee is better than Ian Book. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
Yes.
Tanner McKee, we gave him a lot of flack for being immobile and things of that nature, and it's just going to have to just go to just standing in the pocket and tossing the rock around and just hoping the offensive line keeps him vertical if God forbid something happens to Jalen and Marcus Mariota. But Tanner McKee looks a lot better with the ball than with the ball in his hands and leading this offense than Ian Book does. So I've already moved him up to QB3, even though the depth chart kind of sits both of them at the same spot. Doesn't really want to hurt anybody's feelings, I guess. But we all know Tanner McKee is QB3 on this team. And with Marcus Mariota signing a 1 year, $5 million deal, gosh, it pays. Like, I wonder who these guys' agents are sometimes. But 1 year, it looks like Tanner McKee is probably going to slide into that backup role after this season and moving forward, as far as I'm concerned.
Quarterback factory. They could just build them up and ship them out, man. You know how it is. It's, they're producing.
Yep. What you got on that, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I think McKee is a much better option than Book, solely for the fact that McKee might get better, and I don't think Ian Book is. Who knows if McKee's going to be good? And I'm not even saying that he will be good, but he has even the slightest potential too. We've seen Ian Book in the regular season and preseason. He's not good. He's not a good player.
Was that in 2021?
It was with the Saints. It was with the Saints.
Did he have playing time in that game? I can't remember if he did. I want to say he did. Okay. Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Bad when you don't remember that, right?
Yeah,
maybe just part of the course, we're talking about guys who often don't make the team playing in that same period of time that he was. But all right, Eagles dropped the depth chart. Let me go ahead and get that pulled up right now because we wanted to talk about that. A.J. Brown, Greg Ward, Deion Kane, Landon Dickerson, got all the familiar names. So I guess we can start at quarterback. Jalen Hurts, QB1, no surprise there. Marcus Mariota. And they put Ian Book and Tanner McKee there together because they don't want to tip us off as to who's ahead.
Yeah,
who's
doing a Tampa Bay Buccaneers type of thing with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, where it just says Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. Like, what? He's so stupid.
Right. I'm ready to go ahead and put Tanner McKee ahead of Ian Book. So that's my three quarterbacks. Ian Book signed off of waivers last year, was on the team all season. I don't think he was active in any of those games, was he? Except for the ones Jalen missed. But I think most of the time he was a healthy scratch. Jalen got hurt. I guess they had to put him in there as a backup. But I don't see it. I don't see anything there. And Tanner McKee just looks a whole lot better with the ball in his hand. So I think they're pretty good as far as quarterbacks concerned. But with that being said, I don't know if there's any debate there. You guys want to move on to running backs? Or?
Yeah. And, looking at the depth chart, I mean, this is at least on the Eagles website. All their running backs and really outside of Kennedy Brooks, they're all just stacked on top of each other all at first string.
Right. That's that playing everything close to the vest that I was talking about. The Eagles want to keep everything a secret. They don't want us to know how they view guys, but I think we can kind of see that. Like Rashad Penny keeps running out there with the threes. My question is this. Okay, Kennedy Brooks is listed as other on the depth chart. Not good. Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott, Trey Sermon, DeAndre Swift, all listed as RB1. And my question is this. If Rashad Penny keeps running out there with the threes and he's not getting any time with the first team offense, it seems like we're keeping him around. We want him to get some kind of work with them during practice. What's the chances of them moving on from Rashad Penny if he has a bad training camp and just rocking with Trey Sermon?
I wouldn't rule it out.
From the issues of the injury concerns and things of that nature. Trey Sermon's got a lot more tread on the tire. He hasn't been hurt.
They're two very. I would say they're two pretty different style running backs, though. I mean, I'm a Rashad Penny guy, so I'm a little bit biased for that. But Trey Sermon's very much just north and south, and where Rashad Penny is just a bowling ball, just goes wherever the hell. Like I think it's foolish to move away from Rashad Penny. That being said, They don't owe him a lot of money, and it was a lottery ticket for him. So I don't know, but Trey Sermon.
I think Rashad Penny makes the team. I still think it's Gainwell, Penny, Scott, and Swift. But just for the sake of argument and things of that nature, they don't seem to value him as much as we probably think they should. I definitely would keep him above Trey Sermon, but
yeah,
I'm scared of the injuries.
I mean, I didn't expect Penny to be running with the threes, even like 5 practices in the camp. And obviously that goes to show how deep the Eagles running back room is. I mean, even to that point, Brooks, who isn't even listed with these guys, I thought he looked great at the open practice. He was running through contact. He looked shifty, and it just shows you that even a guy that shows those flashes doesn't even have a shot at cracking the rotation right now. If I were to really look at it, you know, even from the one practice I was in attendance for, Gainwell is their situational weapon. He's going to be the guy that is trusted, I feel like, more than anyone else in the situational aspects, because that first red zone portion with the Eagles, Gainwell was the first running back on the field. You know, we all know what DeAndre Swift can do. We've seen it. We all know what I think I hit on. Boston Scott, we've seen what he can do. Trey Sermon and Rashad Penny is the interesting one, because do the Eagles want a runner that might be able to contribute in the passing game? And that's Penny. He's shown flashes. It's not something he's been asked to do consistently. Or do they simply just want a guy where they tell him, go straight, get downhill, and he does it? Because if that's the case, then maybe Trey Sermon is a better option for them. And maybe the team sees him as that better option because he's cheaper and he is just serving a role, and it allows them to give a bigger role to Gainwell and a bigger role to Swift, and maybe even a bigger role to Boston Scott.
Yes.
I mean, that's rational. That's fair. But again, it's a weird circumstance with that room where the delta between each player is very big, but not that, like, they just have such different strengths. It's going to be very interesting to see what they value, especially if they're what would make sense in what we can assume that Jalen Hurts isn't going to be as big of a part of the running game as he has been.
And I'm a huge fan of Rashad Penny. Like I've said on this show multiple times that I think Penny's going to be a great asset to the Eagles. That's only if they use him and want to use him. If you want to use a guy sporadically, I guess Penny's still a better option, so to say, but Sermon, I think, fills that role a little bit better of just the downhill, get 3 to 4 yards and a cloud of dust type football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Wide receivers, AJ Brown on one side as a first teamer. That was pretty obvious. Devontae Smith on the other. Quez Watkins, who I've always felt like is a better outside receiver than a slot guy, which I think is part of his problem, is the 3, but that's where he's going to play him if they need him. Devontae Smith. They have his backups being Olamide Zaccheaus and Devin Allen, and Tyreek Cleveland is listed as other. It's not where you want to be if you're Tyreek Cleveland. AJ Brown, Greg Ward, Deion Kane on the other side. And again, I think Quez Watkins kind of slides out to the outside if there's a need. And then maybe we put Olamide in the slot. But
that's just what happened that day that Devontae was out.
Right. So AJ, Greg Ward, Deion Kane. Fan favorites. Well, let me do the slots first. Quez, Britton Covey, Jaden Hazelwood. The other 2 others are Joseph Ngata and Johnny King. 2 Giants playing wide receiver. 2 fan favorites.
Johnny King, baby. Southeast Missouri State's own Johnny King in the NFL. Oh,
Johnny King is 6'5", 209 pounds. If you need to count, he's 4 inches taller than AJ Brown. He's 17 pounds lighter. But dude is huge. Dude looks like an NFL football player. Let's just hope he plays like one.
Oh,
I'm not sure we're going to see him tomorrow night, though.
It's great. It's great to see. It's great to see a player from the incredibly small college that you went to make it to the big leagues, baby. Johnny King, here to stay. He sounds like a Tekken fighter.
Let's do it.
So I guess like 2 things with that. Number one, I find it extremely interesting that they have Zaccheaus as Devonta Smith's backup, and that they have Zaccheaus listed as an outside receiver. Now, is that just they want Zaccheaus to be the versatile weapon where if someone goes down?
Chart, I'm feeling like they're just throwing stuff out there for us.
Yeah.
I feel like Quez is a better outside receiver, and I think if something happens to Devontae or AJ, he slides outside, and Olamide slides into the slot role.
Yeah, maybe it's just like
shifty in space.
Yeah, it's like stacking receivers, and Zaccheaus is not a tall guy. I don't think he's above 5'9", 5'10". as a receiver. So having him as a backup, you know, they don't list it, but more of like an X or Y is very, very interesting. And then I'm personally the highest out of the other receivers. This is what I'm also excited for in tomorrow's game. Joseph Nagata. I'm very excited to see what he does in live game action, because all we've been seeing is that he's lighting it up.
He's been good. He's been real good. Yeah.
And also, of course, Johnny King. I can't express enough how happy I am. It was one thing when SEMO almost made it to the NCAA tournament. I was elated then because they don't do anything ever. But now we got our guy in the NFL, baby. Johnny King's gonna light it up.
I hope he does well. I do.
Love it.
I really do. Joseph Ngata is also a giant, 6'3", 217, so 9 pounds lighter than AJ Brown and 2 inches taller. So they got some big guys. Can you imagine? Now, all these guys are going to make the team. Could you imagine there being a situation where you have Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown and then Ngata and all these giants in the red zone and on third down? Jalen Hurts ain't going to have to be accurate at all. He can't miss these guys. They're huge.
Throw it up.
Well, I mean, this is more of a down the road conversation, but how many of these guys are you even going to be able to stash on your practice squad?
Not many. If Joseph Ngata's on the practice squad, he's leaving.
So yeah, someone's picking him up, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Johnny King's going to make it onto the 53 man.
Let's do it. Tight end, Dallas Goedert. No surprise there. Jack Stoll. They love, tremendous blocker, and has also improved his receiving skills. With that happening, I don't know how he's left off this roster. Grant Calcaterra they have in the TE3 spot, but in other. I love it. Dan Arnold, Tyree Jackson, and Brady Russell. And I wouldn't get shocked. I'd be shocked if any of those guys are off the team. Tyree Jackson, when healthy, looks really good. You know, he just had that broken bone in the back and the knee injury. But when he's healthy, which is hard to see happen, which has never happened as far as he's been here, he looks good. But Grant Calcaterra is just, there always seems to be something. If he's not healthy, he's dropping passes. It's just, can Tyree Jackson catapult himself onto the roster?
Tyree Jackson's one of those guys that always just has a phenomenal camp, and then, well, I guess he got hurt the last couple of years, but I think they like him too much to let him go.
I mean, funnily enough, I was a fan of developing Tyree Jackson, the project quarterback, when he came out of college. So right. maybe I'm dating myself a little bit here, but I think he has all the athleticism and athletic gifts to be a fun developmental project. But look, if he doesn't stay healthy, you know, that's one of the main things with bubble guys. You have to unfortunately stay healthy, and even if it's a freak accident, even if it's an injury where you're not going to get that injury prone label, that might put you behind the 8 ball as opposed to some of the other tight ends that are competing for that same spot.
Yeah, it's a Deion Kane thing. In order to get on the team, you're going to have to play.
Deion Kane is ahead of Joseph Ngata on the depth chart, and he's hurt and hasn't been playing at all. That's a little weird to me. But
it's one of the, I mean, because these rosters that come out here are just made by the PR people. So I mean, it makes sense that they do that. Like when we get to the offensive line, it's going to have Brett Toth as center number 2.
Yes, we got Jordan, Landon, Jason, Cam, Lane as your starters. No surprise there. The backups: Dennis Kelly, Sua, Toth, Steen, Driscoll. Again, not very surprising. The third string is Roderick Johnson, Josh Seals, Cameron Tom, Tyrese Robinson, Fred Johnson. The others, Josh Andrews, and I don't know why I'm so tickled by that. Julian Good-Jones. Cool there. I want to talk a little bit about defense before we get out here. We got about 10 minutes. So let's move down. Your starting defensive line, Brandon, Fletch, Jordan, Josh. The backups, Teron Jackson, Milton Williams, Jalen Carter, Derek Barnett. If we're going like 8 guys on the defensive line, let's say 10, that leaves Janarius Robinson, Kentavious Sweat, Marlon Tui, Pelotu. The others, Ojomo and Noah Ellis, fighting for basically 2 spots here. Because we know, I'm thinking Teron made a team as a rookie, was on the practice squad most of the year last year. Milton Williams making the team. Jalen Carter has no issues to worry about. Derek Barnett will be on the team as much as we're mad at him. Brandon Graham, Fletch, Jordan, Josh. But Janarius Robin, Contavious Sweet, Tui Pelotu, Ojomo, and Noah Ellis. It's hard to say these names when you're talking fast, but 5 guys competing for 2 spots in my opinion.
Yeah, let me pull who. 1 second, I'm pulling this up. I think Moro Jomo. I think they like him. If over some of these other guys, I don't know. It's that.
He's in too, and he's a draft pick. He's somebody we actually drafted.
Yeah.
And Contavious Street's in trouble. I forget he's on the team sometimes. Marlon Tui Pelotu, maybe. So if I was to pick, if I was going to keep 10 defensive linemen, I'd go Ojomo, Tui Pelotu, and say goodbye to Janarius Robinson, Contavious Sweet, and Noah Ellis. Like, I don't think we need them.
I mean, what do you call it? Regarding Ojomo, like I'm not 100% sure, but I think when it was draft time, he was considered someone that should have went a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And that ended up sliding back to very late in the draft to where the Eagles were able to snag him. So look, if that's a guy where he has all that talent and the Eagles want to develop him, I'm taking once again, and this is kind of my mantra, I'm taking the shot on the guy with the traits to develop over, just back of the end roster fodder that maybe has been there for a year.
The difficult thing about it is that when you're talking like defensive line, a rookie guy up there is not going to be, I mean, historically, not exactly the most productive person. So I could see them being like, maybe we get Moro Jomo, stash him on the practice roster, and then get one of these guys that has experience. I could see that. I think that could be a good argument for that. But I think the fun idea, the idea that sounds better is the one where you do keep Moro Jomo on the 53. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to flip these. They got Hassan Reddick as the strong side linebacker. I would actually put Christian Ellis as a strong side linebacker or Nicholas Morrow if those guys can cover. Let them chase some tight ends around. Hassan Reddick, though, is listed as the first team Sam. Ellis and Morrow are the first team Wheels. N'Kobe Dean, obviously the Mike. Then you have backing up Hassan Reddick, Patrick Johnson, and Nolan Smith. Sean Bradley backing up N'Kobe. They dipped from the wheel. They dipped down to the 3rd string here. They put Zach Cunningham there. Miles Jack is listed behind Sean Bradley on the depth chart. Could climb, though. Vincent, I never know what this guy's name is. Ben Van Sumeren.
BVS.
You know this. Am I right, Brandon?
Yeah, Van Sumeren.
Okay, Ben Van Sumeren. He's left off the roster, and I'm really ready for Kyron Johnson to go. I didn't like his attitude on special teams last year. Like, he seems to think he was entitled to be on the field a lot more than he was instead of earning it. Christian Ellis is just a better player.
Yeah, and as we covered last week or earlier this week, incredibly handsome.
Right.
Bonus points.
Bradbury, Slay, Vontae Maddox, your trio starting. Josh Jobe, Keely Ringo, Zach McPherson, as we discussed earlier, round out the top 6 for now. Then you got Greedy Williams, Mario Goodrich, Josiah Scott. The others, Mekhi Garner and Eli Ricks, trying to earn jobs. But it looks, I'm going to go Slay, just like it looks. I'm going to go Bradbury, Slay, Maddox, Joe, Ringo, and McPherson, if it's my opinion.
Yeah, Mario Goodrich has 0 juice for me.
Was he a Clemson guy?
Very good question.
So a couple of Clemson guys on this team. Like, I know Ngata went to Clemson U.
Yeah.
Yeah, Goodrich is a Clemson guy.
Yeah,
and,
Goodrich is Clemson.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I'm feeling it. But I would go with the top 6 as they have it on the depth chart as the guys who are making the roster. So I'm cool with that. Safety position, Terrell Edmonds, Kayvon Wallace on one side. We know Reed Blankenship started. He's taken every defensive snap with the first team. So you got Edmonds and Kayvon Wallace fighting for a starting position on the other job, and Kayvon has gotten a lot of work with the ones. Second teamers, you got Sidney Brown and Justin Evans, and you got Tristan McCollum hanging out there on the third string.
I mean, yeah, it's really just what it comes down to for that spot on the other side from Reed Blankenship.
I'm very interested, though. In the case that Wallace does beat out Edmonds, is Edmonds now on the chopping block for the roster, or is he just a very high-paid backup?
Very high-paid backup. I don't think he's going anywhere. If I was to name the top four right now, I'd say Edmonds, Wallace, Blankenship, Brown, Evans. Haven't seen much from Edmonds or Evans, but I would place Edmonds ahead of Justin Evans right now. Like, just I always use that test of I forget guys who are on the team, which is probably horrible to do, but I don't think about Justin Evans when I think about his team sometimes.
I think the position that's going to have one of the shortest leashes on this team is going to be safety. That safety on the other side from Reed. Like, if they put Kayvon out there and maybe he's looking good in training camp, but then they get into a game and he does Kayvon Wallace things, yeesh, get him the hell out of there as soon as you can. Get Terrell Edmonds in there, who we know can play ball.
Our punt battle, we got Sipos ahead of Zetner. Jay Kelly is the kicker, of course. Sipos is our holder. Rick Lovato is our long snapper. Punt returner, Britton Covey, Devontae Smith, Quez, and Greg. Kick returner, Boston Scott, Britton Covey, Gainwell, and Quez Watkins. So
that's going to be another thing that I'm very interested to see in these preseason games, is because a lot of teams around the league have been practicing the squib kicks, and I think that's going to be a big thing with the new change in the touchback rule. I'm curious to see where, like, some of these, because normally, like you said, Boston Scott's back there. But do you have more of these guys that are capable of returning things playing up from him? I'm very curious to see how that ends up looking out, because I think that could be a position where a lot of these speedy guys could get some touches.
Well, to that point, though, you know, if you're putting more speedy guys, are you comfortable with more of those guys trying to throw blocks on special teams? Like, that's the balance with it.
Yeah, I'm not, but I'm all, yeah, I don't know. That's one of those things where I'm curious to see what they're going to do. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know how much you value obviously, hopefully you value their health a lot. But like, when it actually comes down to it, I'm curious to see if that maybe they put up a Trey Sermon up there, somebody that, you know, can be resilient enough. Not a Devontae where you don't want to put up your number 1A, 1B wide receiver. But yeah, you get what I mean.
Cool deal, fellas. Great work on tonight. I'm excited. We got a game tomorrow.
We do.
I was going through my mind, man, and I was trying to think of some of the best preseason moments. And, you know, it's preseason, so there are not a lot of them. I thought about the Paul Turner thing. Remember when we thought Paul Turner was going to be great? He's going to be like somebody we just thought was going to pop. Remember how excited we were when they moved him up from the practice squad to the active roster? And we remembered why he was on the practice squad in the first place and why we talking about he was barely going to make this team. The Paul Turner punt return. I would put Quez's catch and run against the Pittsburgh Steelers up there. I thought that was electric, but I can't think of a better preseason moment off the top of my head without having to go do research. If I just sat here and said off the top of my head, what's the best preseason moment? And I came up with this. Ironically, the Philadelphia Eagles against the Baltimore Ravens.
Start Brian Westbrook in the backfield. And Terrell Owens, everybody, all eyes, all attention on T.O. and how this will all work out.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see the first play if they don't try to get the football to Terrell Owens.
He looks his way. Fires it his way. There's Owens at the 45. Inside the 20. And on the first play at Philadelphia in an Eagle uniform, Terrell Owens takes it 81 yards right on the jersey number.
'81 from number 81. My favorite preseason moment of all time. I just knew we were going to win 6 Super Bowls when I saw it. We're winning the next 3, baby.
And then what happened?
We made it one.
Everybody was happy. End of the story. Nobody was ever mad at anybody. Everybody was, yeah, great.
Nobody ever did sit-ups in a driveway.
Let's not talk about it, Brandon.
Gosh, that felt good in the moment. Like, I don't even remember anything else about that game. Like, after that, it was like game over for me. We're ready. Start the season. And how about who was that? Phil Simms obviously talked to Andy Reid in the pre-screening, I guess, before the game. I'm pretty sure Andy told him, hey, we're going to go deep to Terrell Owens and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they go deep to Terrell Owens here.
Right.
All right, fellas. What else you got?
I like the recency bias, of course, the last year with the Kaiser White interception. I like that. That was delicious. I remember when that happened, I was like, oh, that's a linebacker making a play. This team's going places.
Yeah.
Fast forward however many months, 4 or 5 months, and I was throwing up in a bathroom crying. So, you
got a top preseason moment, Brandon?
I think really like the first appearance of Jalen Hurts, where he was just showing like the flashes of athleticism and kind of what he could do, and people were like, oh yeah, Hurts is playing well, but it's only preseason. It's not like it's ever going to translate, and here we are.
Yeah.
look at
This
us.
is a whole lot better before we put it up on the screen, but let's go with that one more.
Brian Westbrook in the backfield, and Terrell Owens. Everybody, all eyes, all attention on T.O. and how this will all work out.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see the first play if they don't try to get the football to Terrell Owens.
He looks his way, fires it his way. There's Owens at the 45, inside the 20, and on the first play at Philadelphia in an Eagle uniform, Terrell Owens takes it 81 yards right on the jersey number.
That makes me smile when I look at it now. I love it, man. Things that don't always work out how you think they should, but, great moment. I doubt we'll see something like that in the first preseason game tomorrow, but should be a great season either way. I'm still interested.
Get ready. Buckle down. That's what I was saying before the show is we're almost done with the let's have fun with everything, be jovial offseason, and get into the grind my teeth into dust and be nervous for the next 4 months. We're just about there, baby.
All right. For those of y'all that hung out with us live, we appreciate y'all. For the hundreds of y'all that will watch this later, we appreciate you guys too. Go Birds, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Go Birds.